Hey guys, I'm Dr. Spencer. I'm your program director for MACP, and I have Dr. Peter Hall with me. Peter, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody.
Our
Oh,
VPA.
and for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Vice President Academic for New Brunswick.
Jesse, you want to jump in and say hi?
Hi, I'm Jesse Forsyth. I'm Senior Production Design Senior Production Design for Yorkville University and Toronto Film School.
Yeah. So we're all here today to talk about the Skills Learning Lab. I cannot tell you the excitement that I have around this. It's probably going to come through. This has been a project we've been working on all year, and it is ready. And I know a lot of you are really interested to see what this is and how it looks and kind of dive in. Many of you are probably wondering, where is it? We are working on opening it for you today after this webinar. If it doesn't get open today, it will be in the next couple days. So please don't feel worried that it's not showing up for you yet. When it's open, it will show up on your course dashboard. Now today in the webinar, you are welcome to ask questions, get some answers. If you're worried about anything, this is the place, let's talk about it. You can use the question and answers feature that's here in the Zoom room. We don't have a chat box, you need to put it through the question and answers button. Okay, so let's talk about this. So what is the Skills Learning Lab? So the Skills Learning Lab is essentially a course or a hub, a lab that's going to be open to you that coincides with all of the courses in MACP. Now, it is a collection of videos, resources, tutorials. It's pretty extensive. Let me talk a little bit about where it came from, and then we're going to go over some key characteristics, and then I'm also going to show you how it aligns with your program. So it actually developed, we started a new initiative around coaching for students in our skills-based courses. So this was a new initiative that we started working with students and giving extra support where needed. And what we found was there were key components of skills that needed to be examined almost in a more mechanical way, right? Like breaking down those skills to the very basics. And so that's what the first kind of videos came from. It was looking at specific skills, counseling responses, building the therapeutic relationship, what we would consider micro skills and foundational skills. And we started breaking those down and creating videos and tutorials around those that gave more guidance. And so when we did this, other students could benefit from it. And so we continued to build and continue to build, but then it became, where do you put all of these collections, right? Where do you put all of these amazing resources? And that's where the Skills Lab came from. So one thing that people worry about, I would say, especially when you hear here's some new resources, here's some new videos, here's some new things to review, is you always worry that it's going to be extra. And I know that our MACP program is so comprehensive. Each course is incredibly comprehensive, very thorough in the content. So I want to assure you that these are not actually extra. What we've done is we've meticulously woven them into the program itself. So each course will have some connection to the Skills Lab that kind of comes back. So you do not need to review these resources before you get to the course. You don't even need to review these resources, all of them at once. This isn't like a do this before you get to another class. Each course is going to connect to a piece of it. So this is an example of what it would look like. So let's say, in our very first course, biopsychosocial, for any of our new students that are here from there, we have been working actually to really refine and revise that course to make it really beneficial for like a launching point for you into the rest of the program. So it is connected to the Skills Lab. And so as you go through your programming, you see some of these other courses listed. They also have pieces of each module that they'll be connected to. So I say this because if you would like to go through material, if you'd like to go through these, you're welcome to. The thing about the Skills Lab is we wanted to hit more developmental styles, meaning if you're a student that says, I like to read some of the book before I get in there, then this would help you. Meaning if you know you're going into the assessment class, going into the module that talks about assessment and listening to some of the lectures. If you're a student that says, I'm finished with a class, but I need to see how this new one now connects to previous courses, then you can go back through the resources and review them as many times as you want at your own pace. Now let's turn it a little bit more. Let's say you're one of the people that were impacted by COVID-19. I say one of, we're all impacted. Let me take a step back. We're all impacted by COVID-19. But if your program needed to be delayed, deferred, slowed because of this, and you want to stay fresh in your skills, go back through these pieces that will help you to progress towards practicum. So I'm going to pause here before we go into the next piece of this and see if there are any questions or anything that we need to hit.
We have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Several of them are about a recording. Is this being recorded, and where will they be able to access it after the fact?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a YouTube playlist on our Yorkville University channel. So YouTube University, Yorkville University, and you'll see a playlist called the MACP Webinar Inspiration and Insight Series. All of our webinars that are recorded are listed there, and this will be one of them.
Next question, actually this, Dr. Spencer, as host, are you able to mute everybody? Some people are having difficulty hearing because of background noise.
Let me see. I think everybody's muted.
Okay, next question. Will the Skills Lab be available to alumni?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Let me think about that for a second. As of right now, I'm going to say we don't have plans to make it available to alumni. Could we consider that for the future? Absolutely. You know, we want to, we really want to keep continuing to love on our alumni community any way we can. So if this is a way to support, we will absolutely look into this as a possibility for the future.
Can you please repeat where people can go to access the Skills Lab?
Absolutely. So it is going to be listed on your course dashboard. So when you go to find your courses that are active in this session, it'll be listed right there with it every single time that you have an active session in the program. And Jesse is about to give us a tutorial here in a second, so you'll be able to see it a little bit more.
Next question. So are all of the previous videos that you did, Dr. Spencer, are they all going to be available in the Skills Lab as well?
Yes. So if you guys, there's probably people in here that have had me as an instructor, and you know I love videos. I love for you to get connected to me so we can talk about the content together. So yeah, videos that I've created, we have started incorporating them in. Now, one thing I gotta do a real shout out here is our faculty have been contributing to the Skills Lab. So it's not just me. I don't want an entire lab of me. I want an entire lab of our amazing faculty. We have so many skilled people. And so they have been making videos specifically for the Skills Lab, and some of them have been gracious enough to share videos that they've created for other sources and said, hey, I'm giving you permission to include this too because I want to contribute and I'm a faculty member here. I want to help our program, right? So they're so supportive. And so you're going to see a wide variety of faculty in this Skills Lab. And we even have a contributor section right off at the beginning, so you can look to see if your instructor is listed. I'd say at least once a week I get faculty that talks about another way to build and expand the Skills Lab. So this is going to be a continuously growing initiative.
Next question, two questions actually, both practicum related. The first one is a student who has completed the coursework and is starting her practicum now. Will she be able to access, well, let me generalize. Will students in their practicum also be able to access the skills lab?
Absolutely. So you guys are going to be working with clients. You're going to be out in the field, taking all the skills that you've learned and putting them into action. So I really want to give you guys a special shout out here that this is, I really encourage you to go through, because not only do you want to get out there and be an amazing therapist with your clients, but you also want to shine and practice and expand. You guys have started gaining the skills, and now it's time to sharpen your skills. So, you know, we spend a good part of skills, the skills course and the interventions course, obtaining and holding on to the skills. Practicum is about taking it that next step, right? We don't want to just obtain, we want to sharpen into effectiveness. And that's where I say, if you have the opportunity, practicum students, go through this lab. Go through, use some of the pieces that you're receiving in that to sharpen your skill set when you're working with clients.
The second part of that question was, sorry, I think I may have deleted it. Oh, will there actually be more practicum specific videos in the skills lab?
Yes, there will. So let's, that kind of like is a beautiful open door to the next piece. So I'm going to go down to the blue box here. We'll start down there. We're going to do things out of order. It's going to be rebels, right? So continuing to grow. This is not a set in stone lab, meaning what you see now, it will not look the same in a year. It will be larger. It will grow. This is a living, breathing lab. Just like our field is living and breathing. As a therapist, we are expanding, we are learning, we are, you know, I think about the trauma world, right? I'm a traumatologist. I've seen the trauma research in the last decade expand and grow and just completely explode. And now we have so many methods that help us to work with clients faster, more effective, reaching the goals quickly, reaching that safety and stabilization piece of the treatment, right? So much faster. That's what's going to happen with our skills lab. As our field grows, as our program continues to grow and sharpen, so will our skills lab. So our hope is to continuously add resources, videos, demonstrations. I know a ton of you love to see these theories in action, so it will continuously be expanding and growing. Let's go over a couple of these key characteristics before we get into more questions. So skills-based, everything that we're trying to do in the skills lab is an extension of your courses. Our courses do an amazing job at preparing you for the theoretical and research-based components of this program, right? These key competencies of being a counselor. The skills lab takes it and extends it into application, and so that you can see these things in action. So that's the whole point of it. So everything in the lab, we try to keep very focused on skills, on application, so that it's hitting a different learning style for those that need to see it. And new counselors pretty much need to see it. It's hard to draw a picture that you've never seen. So you need to see it so that you know how to then demonstrate it when you go through your skills-based courses, and you go through courses that give you a more in-depth understanding of a theoretical principle or a technique, like if we think about assessment. Accessibility. This is my most exciting part, I think, about this. This lab was built with a lot of accessibility in mind. Thank you, Jesse. So when it comes to speed control, being able to slow things down, internet quality control, if you're in an area that doesn't have very high-speed internet and you're struggling with that, this lets you pick a different quality of the video so that it will run easier. Closed captioning is another one here. So a significant amount of accessibility was built into that. Jesse, did I miss anything else under the accessibility area? Okay, all right, good to go. Last characteristic, we're gonna go to the orange box here, and that is ongoing and open. Your courses close when they're finished, right? For those of you that are new, this might be a new concept. For those of you that are active in the program, once your 5 or 10 weeks of the course is finished, that course closes. So you don't have access to it. So this is a very different idea. This is an ongoing open lab. That means if you're active in the program, you will have access to the lab. And so this idea of it closing is just going to be open through your entire program so that you can revisit it. This is at your pace with some of the material that you, let's say you want to go back through, you want to get ready for your next course, or you're just interested, right? I have so many people that come through our courses that are just interested in trauma and want to hear discussions around it, want to see demonstrations around it. And so these things will be open for you to pursue your interests or just revisit or prepare, right? So it's just an ongoing open lab. Okay, so we're about to see it. Jesse is going to stop share. There we go. Jesse's going to walk us through. While he gets set up and ready, let's answer a couple more questions if they've come through.
There are a lot of questions. It seems like quite a few people came in late. So would you be able to do a quick review? What is the skills lab? What does the skills lab contain? What are the benefits of the skills lab? And I'll also throw in there that it seems like no one is able to access it. They can find it in the dashboard, but they can't actually access it. It seems some people are saying there's a message saying September 7th.
Yes, okay, so let's talk about that. So for those of you that did not catch the beginning of this, I'm not going to rehash just because that's not fair to the people that actually got here on time. No dissing there, just saying. So this is recorded. It will be on YouTube under the Yorkville University MACP playlist for Inspiration and Insight series. That's our webinar series that we do here on Wednesdays. So I just want to encourage you to catch just the first 15 minutes so that you can just have a better feel for what it is. And I'm going to give a 2-sentence summary here that the Skills Lab is an open resource area that encompasses the MACP's videos, skill-based application materials, and resources that's open to you from the start of your program to the end of your program, so that to the end of practicum. And it will be integrated into your curriculum. So each course will have a little piece of the Skills Lab in it. So it's not considered extra, it's actually considered a woven in resource that you can now continuously access. So I'm going to give that recap for those of you that need to go back. This will be posted on our YouTube. And then access, let's talk about that. Yes, so it should appear on your dashboard. Yes. Our hope is to have access for students today or in the next couple of days so that you can start walking through it. If that does not happen, if there's some bumps in that road, then it will be open on September 7th. And just because it says that you don't have access to it, please know that's not you specifically. That is us trying to get all of you, and there are a lot of you, all of you into that one course. And since this is a brand new thing, uncharted territory here, we're gonna experience a little bumps along the road, right? So we just ask for your patience. I appreciate your patience with it because we will have it open to you by the start of courses. Okay, Jesse, let's take a look. Let's see it.
All right, everyone see my screen? Yep. Good. So here's a skills lab. I'm just going to move this off my screen. There we go. So here's a skills lab, and I've put the demo. Some of you might have seen the demo in your in some of your courses, and I've put the demo here on the top page. And then we have a welcome video, and we'll we encourage you to watch this, and to access all the modules. You see on the modules underneath here, you just click on a name and it pops up. So to start a module, it'll pop up in a new screen for you. And for navigation, we have like online on screen buttons, and there's also menus on the side. We click this, so we can run through here. You can actually see all the different contributors, and we'll be adding to these as we get more and more contributors, so you can get to know your contributors. And then we have other different types of labs. The one, if we look at, say, risk and assessment, start your lab. We try to keep this very clean and streamlined. So when you come in, your videos are going to be on the main page as a nice big button, and then you'll have downloadable resources, which can be accessed by just clicking on the bottom or by clicking the menu on the top. So all your resources will be here. We have PDFs and PowerPoints and whatnot they'll download. So when you click on these videos, we have them loaded in what's called a Lightbox, and this brings in our MS streams, and reason why we embed them with MS streams or YouTube videos is because we can bring in closed captioning, and I'm rural, so my internet's quite slow here. So we can bring in closed captioning and speed settings. So when you bring in a video, you notice in the bottom here, if you have like my internet right now is quite slow, so I could actually bring down the quality of this, bring it down, and then turn on subtitles on the bottom here. And the way you exit out of here is use X out of it. And so sometimes you'll see a stream video, and then depending if we have outside sources coming in, then we'll have a YouTube video. And YouTube is the same way. You have the option to slow down the video, the speed of the video, or speed it up. Sometimes I know I like to speed up videos. And so yeah, that's why I have a Lightbox. And again, if you click on your resources, you can download them. And another type of, we're trying out some new different things. And the one thing is we have practice sessions. So with the practice session, this is actually, there's an input and output. When you come back to something, with the nice thing with Articulate, it will remember where you're at your last session. I'm gonna restart my session, and we'll start a session. So an example of this is we have a mock-up session where the counselor and the client meet, and then before the client answers, after the client will speak, then you have a chance to put in what your response is, and then you continue on, and it would go through each response. And so for demo purposes, I've gone through and I've made my responses, and then once you're done, you'll watch it again, but this time you'll actually see what the counselor says, and then you'll have a chance to respond to if you were going to change your response or what you would do differently. So we'd work our way through these. We'd say like paste in a response. I'm just going to type in some words here quickly. Hit continue. So when we get to the end, it would go back, and when we get to the end, this is for testing purposes. You won't be able to jump ahead in when you're final. So we'd go to the end, and at the end, you'd have a chance to actually print out your results, and a window will pop up, and you can either choose your printer or save as a PDF here, and then you'll be able to download your results, and you'll see your responses, the counselor's response, and then your answer. And this is just one of the first cool things that we're starting to implement. We have other branching scenarios and different things that would come down the line, but yeah, we hope you like the skills lab.
Thank you, Jesse. So this gives you a little bit of a preview, a sneak peek right before the big show. It looks like we have a big number of questions down there. So Peter, which one's standing out?
Absolutely. So one, actually, I can eliminate a lot of these. I just didn't want to eliminate them until I got to them. There are a lot of shout outs. A lot of people are thanking you, and also thanking you, Jesse, for the accessibility components. Everybody sees the value in this. They're very excited to be able to access it. The next question is about telehealth. So I'm not sure if this is specific to the telehealth course that we offered, but Jocelyn did take a telehealth program, and she's wondering if there will be more telehealth training in the skills lab, and particularly with more Canadian content.
Yeah, that's actually being planned right now. So, you know, when it comes to what we're experiencing with the pandemic, I think it would be almost archaic of us not to acknowledge that telemental health will likely be in our future, right? I say likely, will be in our future. Let me say that a little more firmly, because for many people, that's where they are right now. So they're making this adjustment, they're making this transition. We're making these accommodations to really meet clients where they are and to ensure safety at the same time. So yes, I do foresee more specifically like Canadian context specific telemental health coming to the skills lab. Absolutely.
Next question. There's a few questions here about whether the skills lab components are required, whether there are grades attached to them.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So when you go through, and I'm gonna go back to this example so that it makes a little more sense. Hold on one second here. Alrighty. So let's go back to this example. So when we say grades attached, I gotta love some graduate students, right? Because we start worrying about okay, how's this gonna impact my grade, right? How am I gonna do with performing in these competencies? So for a lot of our material, what we have done is connected either an assignment, a discussion, or that week's study to pieces of the module, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say in the humanistics and psychodynamic theories course, so Psych 6153, that we will be talking about in one of the discussions, the empty chair. Well, what better thing to add to the discussion than seeing an empty chair and hearing a discussion on how the theory is applied. So you would go to the skills lab, you would watch that demonstration, and then with the video plus your readings for that week, then we would have the discussion about the empty chair. Now, one thing that we are moving towards, and I will say we talked about this on Dr. Hall's podcast. If you have not heard that podcast, I strongly encourage you to listen to it. But we will be starting to move towards activity-based components of our curriculum, which means we might see a video, we might practice it with a peer, and then post a reflection on it, or have an open discussion. So we're just moving towards a sense of how do we demonstrate these competencies, how do we assess and evaluate while you get to engage with the material. And this is the first step. The Skills Learning Lab is the first step of this level of engagement. So when we say required, it will be pieces of your discussions or assignments that then get you to the final result of your grade. So yeah, incorporated.
Will they be able to use the skills lab as references for DQs?
Absolutely, you could, because we're going to have discussions and we're going to have demonstrations. So I'll give you a good example. So one of our amazing faculty offered a demonstration on existential theory and pursued with the client methods and pathways of understanding meaning and where they were deriving purpose or having some existential anxiety, right? So if you watch this session and then you say, yeah, I saw it, I saw this theory because right here in the demonstration is where it really demonstrated that principle, then yes, absolutely, you could refer back to it as a reference.
A lot of people are already seeing the value for alumni. We're getting a lot of questions. Please, please, please keep it open for alumni. We will absolutely look into that as an option.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting this week, one of our faculty, you know, because we did share it with our faculty first to let them take a peek at it before it came to you. And that way we worked out any bugs that was in there first. But one of the faculty reached out just this week and said, I had nothing like this in my master's program. I would have loved to have had this. And I thought, yeah, and our people are getting it. Like, this is like such a resource that we're just excited as a gift to share with you. So if there's a way we can find to love on our alumni and give you guys access, we're absolutely going to look into that.
There are a few questions here about practical lab experiences. So will faculty actually be involved in these as mentors? Will there be opportunities to practice with fellow students? Those kinds of questions.
So some of that is future planning, right? When I say this is a first step, I truly mean this is a first step. And you know, and I know a journey is not one step, it's many. So I do have plans in the future to offer more engagement for the students that want that level of engagement. But at the same time, I really want to honor the non-synchronous components of our program as well. So it's really a balance that we want to honor what this program is and the purpose and the mission, while also balancing how many of you absolutely love some of the practical application components.
Could participation in the Learning Skills Lab count as non-direct counseling hours in the practicum?
Oh, you guys are crafty. No. Your non-direct counseling hours, any of your contact hours, need to still fall under the guidelines that are listed in your field training information.
Are instructors being trained and informed on incorporating and referring to content in the Skills Lab within the courses?
Yes, absolutely. Not only are they being trained and informed, they have been a big piece of it. So you're going to see your instructors' names, you're going to see their demonstrations, you're going to see their contributions in the Skills Lab. So they're very aware that this is a new initiative. They're very excited about it. And many of them have even reached out after we've launched it to say, I see a place where we could take it a next step. I see a place where we could keep developing. So we have a lot of ideas being developed now for how to continue growing it.
There are a few questions about the podcast. So I know that several announcements did go out. One was posted to Moodle. I believe something went out to Instagram, but it seems like not everybody's has gotten that message. So Dr. Spencer, perhaps we could send out the link to MACP students afterwards.
Yeah, we'll do that right after this. I'll shoot you guys an email so that you have the podcast link, because it actually talks about several initiatives that we have been working on. Make a note to myself, or that won't be remembered. Let me do that.
a lot more thank yous. A lot of people are seeing how this will help decrease their anxiety about skills work. Will there be any assessment given on the Skills Lab?
I'm going to answer that through my understanding of that question. Assessment. Let me answer it in two ways. So you'll have assessment on your demonstration of competencies, right? Through discussion boards, through assignments, these types of things, through your practical application sessions, right? Assessment for the Skills Lab as a whole, well, we do track how you're doing, right? We track referrals to coaching. We track when people struggle in certain competencies areas. When we do that, then we try hard to then better prepare, sharpen, or find a way to help you be successful. So program-wise, there's definitely evaluation and tracking to make sure that we're meeting your need. But then on an individual basis, yes, you will be still evaluated in the same competencies. This is just one extra piece that's going to help you be successful in it. Okay.
Oh, somebody just uploaded. Lior, thank you for uploading the link to the podcast.
Can you share that with I don't even know if there's a way to put.
Everybody should be able to see the questions.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, wow, okay, a lot of these are just thank yous. I appreciate this. This looks fantastic. It's going to be very helpful. Chantel, when will the activity-based engagement begin that you have talked about?
Activity-based engagement. Well, so this is a piece of our continuing improvement, right? This is an ongoing, there we go. this is an ongoing piece of our growth. I think, so let's take a step back here and just kind of highlight this. Any program that is based in counseling should mirror the field, right? Like I said before, our field is constantly growing. Our profession is constantly sharpening into its own distinct approach, professional orientation, and pathway to wellness when we talk about working with clients. So if our field is always growing, our counselor education programs are also always growing. And so the activities-based and always sharpening our competencies and curriculum, that's going to be an integrated part of who we are as MACP, that we are going to continue growing, we're going to continue sharpening, bringing you, whether it's fresh material, working on new demonstrations, trying to support our students in being successful, not only in their practicum, but in the profession as a whole. So that we're hoping, to continue finding pieces, sharpening and growing every single term, really.
Seb is here for people who don't know Sebastian Bustamante. He's the manager of student services for New Brunswick. He's just reminding us that the link to the podcast is also on Moodle. Thank you, Seb. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we did something wrong when we set up this webinar. People can't actually see the questions. So as far as the podcast goes, we'll make sure that we send out another reminder. Yes, I can answer this one. You can reference the Skills Lab in assignments as well, not just the discussion questions. Here's a question about APA. Will students be provided with APA citation support for the Skills Lab?
Oh, now that's an interesting idea. Well, I'm a little torn on that. And the reason why I say that is I use the expression, I hate to steal from my clients. If they have a chance to grow and to work through the problem to reach their own understanding and awareness, I would never take that. That's why we don't do advice giving, right? And so in the same respect, I'd hate to take that from students. I wouldn't want to steal from you guys. That means taking the opportunity to dive into the 7th edition of APA and finding how to cite media and materials that would be in the Skills Lab, because then that expands your skill set in APA. So I'm thinking likely not.
So going back to a question that Glenn asked about a half an hour ago, will the material in the Skills Lab be applicable to students in all provinces, and will it pertain to all regulatory colleges?
So that's a great question. So we are not geared towards any specific regulatory body, right? We're not, when I say we're not looking specifically at, our goal is to get you registered. Our goal is to produce a general knowledge for mental health and counseling and psychology for you to work in the profession. I really encourage each of you to get to know what your regulatory body and in your province, what does it require? What is it looking for? What are the competencies, right? And then ensuring that you're meeting those. So I always say that this is a part of our professional responsibility, meaning that it's your responsibility to always be connected to your province, to be connected to your regulatory body, to know what they require. When there's any law changes, when there's any, let's say, changes to ethical approaches or developing guidelines around telemental health, that it's your responsibility to really be connected to those. So we are hitting the competencies that are recognized for counseling and psychology.
This isn't specific to the webinar, but there may be other first-year students here as well. And seeing as you are the head of the MACP program, can you just address when new students can expect to first hear from their professors?
Absolutely, on Monday. So for any of our new first time, first of all, welcome. How exciting for you guys to be coming right into the program with all of these brand new initiatives. It's like bright and shiny, and here you come. So welcome, that's exciting. So our courses start on Monday, September 7th. So for anyone out there that's brand new, I highly encourage you to get a jump on your readings, get a jump on understanding course, click around, look in there. But I would really encourage you not to post yet because courses don't start on until Monday. And because of that, I want you to stay with your course, like your cohort in your course that you will discuss together. And so it's really encouraged that you wait until Monday, and your instructor will likely reach out through a middle message or posting in the course updates, the bulletins area. So if you don't hear by Monday, then worry. But until then, just click around and get familiar. Stroll the halls of your first course.
There are a couple of questions here about the level of integration. So is the Skills Lab in any way integrated to the individual courses? Are there links in the courses to the Skills Lab? Are they completely separate?
Okay, great question. So there are not links in your course to the Skills Lab. It will be listed in your weekly studies or your readings or the discussion or assignment, and it'll say, go to the Skills Lab, go to this module, and go to this video. So it'll specifically call out where you should be going in the Skills Lab. We didn't link it, and that's on purpose, actually, because I know Jesse and Karen and Sarah, all of them asked me, do you want to link it in the course? I said, no, I want to encourage you to stroll through the halls. So if we do a direct link, then that reduces your chance to stroll through. How many of you go to a store, you go for one thing, but you stroll through a little bit and you buy 5 more, right? So I want to pique your interest. I want to stir your passion about the field. So as you're going for that one specific assignment to a module into that video, I want it to encourage you. I want to encourage and to stir that interest of looking at other modules too. Now, when we say it's woven in, yes, every single thing listed in the Skills Lab will be woven in. I'm actually working on a course outline of where every single one belongs so that you can clearly see how it's integrated into each of our courses.
This is, for William. I don't like this word either. The way that they set up the Q&As is if a question has already been answered, then you can dismiss it, is what Zoom calls it. So please don't be offended. You're not being dismissed. Your question has already been addressed. So I'm marking it as already having been addressed, but Zoom is calling it dismissed, which is just not cool. There's William. Okay. Okay. So, well, more people are clearly very interested in the Skills Lab. Have a question, will people be able to recommend topics for the Skills Lab? Yes. Will there be regular updates through webinars such as this one about new additions to the Skills Lab? Will there be additional videos on specific skills such as EMDR for trauma?
Yeah, so first of all, you guys, this is the best. I love it when you present an idea and then people build on it, man. That's the way. We're better together, right? We're stronger as a community. So I will send updates through email whenever we update the Skills Lab. That's a great idea. So absolutely 100%. Can you make suggestions and recommendations? I'm happy to bounce around and take ideas and see how we can continue to improve. Like I said, we have faculty probably at least once a week that look through the Skills Lab and then go, hey, I was thinking about it. Here's an area where we need to develop it. So we have a ton of things already being created and working on getting those to Jesse and his amazing team to then update the Skills Lab. So that's just an ongoing thing. This has now just become a part of our world that we nourish the Skills Lab every way we can. Specific techniques. Yes, I would love to show how some of these things work. They will come with disclaimers. So for example, right now under the crisis, and it's either crisis and trauma or in the intervention section.
Demonstration.
There we go. We demonstrated a hypnotherapy session. So I'm a hypnotherapist and I use it in my sessions with clients that have experienced trauma. It helps them to reach safety and stabilization faster so that we can do narrative exposure work. So I wanted you to see what that looks like. Will that need additional training beyond this program? Absolutely. The rest of your profession will be continued education, continuously sharpening and then tailoring to your population. It's a part of who we are as counselors. So EMDR would fall under that. I have spoken already to a couple of people about sharing an EMDR session, or if you're not familiar with brain spotting, which is the grandchild of EMDR, but sharing a brain spotting session. I want you to see that there's so many techniques and there's all these additional steps that you can take to sharpen and to become specialized.
There are a number of questions here that aren't related to the webinar. We're running out of time, so I'll save those to the end in case we have time to answer them. But it kind of makes me think that perhaps, Dr. Spencer, we should consider a webinar for new students.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Just throwing that out there. In the meantime, back to the questions of the webinar. So I'm not quite sure I understand what this one means, Kaylee. I may have missed this previously, but will the course structure of skills and competencies be changing at all? Or will it be the same as previously?
Will the competencies be changing? Is that the question? I just make sure I understand. So no, our competencies have not changed. And the reason why I say that is because we are recognized and all of our curriculum is based on those competencies. And so because of that, we have very clear guidelines from the ministry and where we are supposed to be falling as a program. So we don't venture out of that. Now, let me talk about the difference between competency, meeting it, right? Meeting a competency, and then the delivery. So our delivery will likely be updated, meaning as many of you love those discussion questions, I know who you are, I love them too. We might find additional ways. We have found that there are, and thanks to the new doctorate program that we have been working on ways to go beyond discussions. How do you demonstrate, how do you evaluate a competency that you're developing beyond discussions and assignments? What are additional ways? So we're looking for different deliveries, but the competency itself will not change. Like, let me give you an example. The idea of being firmly based in a theory and understanding how that framework then works in treatment planning towards wellness and goal setting, right? That is going to have to be a key piece that you learn. But are there so many different ways that we can help you learn that and then evaluate if you've understood it? Absolutely. And so those are the things that we're looking at. Those will be updated along the way, but our competencies will not change.
I have a question for Jesse. He's wondering about the YouTube embedding. Will these YouTube videos be available through YouTube, or will they only be accessible through the Skills Lab itself?
So if there is a video that is shared through YouTube, that is public and that was given to us, given permission that we could use it. So if you see a YouTube video, click on the title and then go to YouTube, and then you have that video forever. Then there's stuff that's proprietary for YU. So then that's the stuff that's on stream. But anything that you see that's YouTube based, if you just click on the title on the top of that video, that will bring you to the original person that gave us that video.
Thanks, Jesse. There are still a number of questions from here about, it seems like, future alumni or maybe current alumni students. We promise we will do our best to see if we can find a way to ensure that you have access after you have graduated. Christine asked a question about the timing of the webinars. They do seem to happen for some reason, typically at noon Eastern time. And they are recorded, and perhaps you could remind people where the recording will be.
Yeah, so all of our recordings for our webinars, this is the Inspiration and Insight series. This is just for MACP. Our webinars are recorded and they are on the Yorkville University YouTube channel. And then if you look under that, there's a playlist that says MACP Inspiration and Insight. And that is all of our webinars that we've recorded.
There are suddenly a lot of requests for a webinar for new students.
Okay, that is actually a great idea. So that we will add into the future. I love that idea.
Okay, yeah, it seems like that's the last like 20 questions here, or comments about the webinar for new students. Oh, will the skills lab appear in our dashboard only on Monday?
So it should probably appear on your dashboard. If it's not, it'll pop up on Monday, but you probably won't have access to it until either after this webinar. So sometime, let's just give ourselves a little range, a little patience like range, right? Which is sometime between today and Monday, it will pop up not only on your dashboard, but you will have access to it. Meaning when you click on that link, you'll get in. So one thing that I'll say, especially for new students and for active students, when you log in to the skills lab, and Jesse is going to correct me if I'm wrong, because he's here to help me with this, right? So when you log in, you will have to review the MACP orientation. Why is that? That's because our orientation process, we have been making sure that you guys are completely linked in to policies, expectations, support services. We have a ton of support services. Seb is on here, our amazing director of student services. And we have so many things set up for you that we want to make sure that you've heard it, you've connected to it. For new students, take the time, go through that. It will help you so much to give you guidance, to give you a framework, to give you understanding for how many hands are behind you and supporting you. So take the time and look at that as you enter the skills lab.
Oh, Kaylee clarified her question. She misunderstood. She thought this was specific to 6246. No, the skills lab is completely separate. Mm-hmm. Sorry, new students. Oh, people want to know, so if they do have recommendations for additional videos, who did they email them to, or will there be a place to do that within the skills lab itself?
Ooh, Jesse, can we set up a entry, like maybe a form, if I do a form and they can fill it out to give us recommendations?
Yes, I'd love to be able to do that. That's something we could either here or on MyYU, but I was actually thinking about that this morning because I would love to get the feedback and if people find anything or and maybe something that we integrate later on into the actual lab where you can just click right in the module you're at, fill out a form. So it's right in that module where you could actually click. So I was thinking about it this morning and doing a little bit of a testing for that because I would be able to say if you're right in the module, the button's right there, it pops up, put your suggestion in, and then it would email directly to the team. Not everything can be done, but yeah, we definitely, like, we're here for you, and so we want to build these things. So if you guys have ideas or something trips you up, let us know so we can fix that or make it for you, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse.
It seems like there may be a bit of a disconnect, and this may explain why we're getting so many questions about why people can't access the dashboard. It seems like some students received an email from their program advisors saying that it is currently available on the dashboard, but it's not, or they can't actually access it.
Yes, that's my fault. So I'm going to assume that one. So yeah, that's mine. I sent you guys a message that said, hey, like, you'll probably see it pop up. Here's what it is. Don't freak out, to give you a little bit of a transition cue. Well, that transition cue was maybe too preemptive, right? Because for some of you, it's not popping up on your course dashboard. And for others of you, you see it, but when you click it, you can't access it. So we're working through that. So I just ask everybody to be patient. It will absolutely be open. We're working on getting the many of you into this one place, socially distanced, of course. But we're working on that and hopefully to have it done by course start.
Getting a lot of suggestions for recommended videos for the skills lab.
I would ask everybody to hold it until you see it. Once you see it, then send your recommendations, and Jesse will have some kind of feedback where you can, whether it's just the lab overall or something specific, but that way you can share it. But wait to see what's in there because we might have already met your needs.
I'm so excited that everybody is so pumped about this. It's wonderful. Oh, Amina, sorry, I just saw your question and we probably don't remember now, but she's asking, what was the last recommendation you made to look at something? Do you remember? This was,
Oh, yes. So my recommendation is to please look at the MACP orientation. It is a program orientation. So it orients you to specific policies, procedures. It's very brief. It lets you get introduced to our team, and it lets you see which resources are available to you. Now, there are some really specific pieces that will help you be successful. So I just encourage you to go through. We tried to make it very concise, very brief, but packed full of content that you need to know.
will a mentorship program be considered? Would it be possible to add that as part of the skills lab?
That is on my radar for the future, absolutely.
I think that might be it.
Okay, we made it.
Which is actually really good timing. There's 3 minutes left. If I missed your question, I'm really sorry. There are a couple here, but I think they're all duplicates. If I could quickly answer a couple of non-webinar related ones, if you don't mind. So we have a question if the MACP program will prepare people for admission to our doctoral program. From an education perspective, it does, but there are additional admissions requirements. For example, you do need to have 2 years postmaster's clinical experience, and you do have to be registered with a regulatory college in the provinces that have a regulatory college. And for the provinces that don't, you have to be registered with a professional association that has a certification such as CCPA. Oh, sorry, no, question about the MACP orientation. Will it be available throughout the program?
Yes, it is. It's actually already available in the, Jesse, you might know the answer to this. There's a course that you get to orient to the program itself that you took at the very, very start of your program. And there is a section for MACP only. And our orientation is already listed there. We've just added it to the Skills Lab because the Skills Lab is just for us. No other program has access to this. So we wanted to make sure that anything that was MACP specific was also in the Skills Lab.
And just, I realize that we're on the hour and I see people starting to drop off, but just really quickly, Nausheen, just to clarify, the student orientation is separate from the Skills Lab. Danielle, that's a fantastic idea. Danielle is, it seems like a continuing student, and she's recommending that we also have webinars for MACP continuing students, not just new students. Definitely something that we'll keep in mind. And if people have questions about the Skills Lab in the future or about this webinar in particular, how can they reach you?
So if there are questions, I always tell you to start first with your amazing program advisors because they are our heartbeat, right? They are that amazing lifeline that if you need anything, you reach out. And the way that you reach out to them is you go to Ask Why You and you submit a ticket to connect with them and they get right to you. Their response rate is like amazing. So they're really, really quick to respond to your needs. They're very attentive. So I would say start there for your questions. And then if there's something that they say, hey, Dr. Spencer, we need you to kind of jump in, then they usually wrote me right in and I can connect with you. So that would be the best procedure. And then also once the Skills Lab is open and you go through, then we'll have some feedback ability in there as well. And so you can share it that way.
And that's it, just a lot of thank yous. People found this very informative and very helpful.
You guys, this has been my, Dr. Hall notes, this has been my project. This has been my baby for the past year. I've been so excited to get this to you. So I'm just want to give Jesse's team a super shout out for all of the hard work they put into this. And we hope you love it. We have loved creating this for you. So you guys have a great day. Thanks for coming.